I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will move into our consensus agenda.
Okay, I move that we approve the vouchers and minutes. Vouchers throughout the month. The accounts payable vouchers are $523,173.05. The payroll amounts are $370,647.06. These are the grand total expenditures for the month of $889,335.11. Also, along with that, we approve the minutes. I move we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Patrons' comments. We have patrons' comments this evening.
Can you explain what is happening tonight? Can you tell us what that envelope is in your hand?
It's cash for Triton gives back. And
And how did you earn that?
at 4-H, I was selling dairy products in an auction. And that's how I earned it.
That is so awesome. So tell me why you want to give that to Triton Gives Back.
Because it improves a lot of lives each year for others.
That is so awesome. So awesome. Well, we are so proud of you. So thank you very much. Oh, I'll take that too. But thank you. I'm gonna give you this from our t-shirt stash, but I'm gonna highly recommend to Mrs. Cook that when Trojan Pride t-shirts come out, that you're one of the first ones to get. How about that? Because you just thought of others over something. I'm so proud of you. Good job.
Good job.
Thank you, Kathy.
We put that at the front of the board meeting knowing you may not want to hang around. So I want to thank parents for obviously instilling that in your young lady. So that just doesn't happen on its own. So thank you. Great job, Miss Kathy. Proud of you.
You may go home now,
Yes.
if you like.
Enjoy this rainy evening.
You're welcome to stay, though.
I mean, if you want to stay, that's fine, but
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we move on to the public hearing for the collective bargaining.
And that just really is seeking any feedback from the public as it relates to the public or the collective bargaining agreement that we will be starting to work on actually tomorrow with informal bargaining, and then after the 15th of September will be formal bargaining. Just open that up to any feedback or thoughts from patrons.
No comment? All right, we will move on to the public hearing for the 2023 bus replacement plan, capital projects plan, and the 2023 budget.
Same thing, if there's any feedback or questions or thoughts about those three plans, be glad to, or I guess 2 plans and a budget, be glad to answer those.
In summary, we're looking to replace, bus-wise, we're looking to replace 1 regular bus and 1 activity bus in 2023. As far as capital projects go, most of them are continuation projects with ceiling tile, fencing, tuck pointing, stuff that we've been doing the last couple of years. We're going to continue doing those. The bond, we're going to award bids to here in a couple of weeks. That's going to allow us to expand some of our expenditures to include some auditorium upgrades, some smaller renovation projects. Those are all on the capital projects plan. As far as the budget goes, few tweaks compared to last year. We've got alternative learning program that we're sharing with Argus, so those costs have been added. 5% growth quotient on the operations fund, so our levy will increase 5% there. And with that bond I previously mentioned, we will have that coming on board, but all that said, we should have the exact same tax rate as we've had this year.
Did we get our buses from the last time yet?
No. Last I heard, maybe January.
Do they expect our buses just, I don't know.
To give you
So the 2023 buses we'll get in 2025, is that what you're saying?
That's kind of what it's looking like. But,
Okay.
we did, I know there's a long waiting list for activity buses especially. I provided them with a letter of intent that we want one. They do get stock buses, and they thought we could get our name on one of those and possibly get that fairly recent, decent time frame.
Any other questions? No? We'll move on to personnel.
All right, I'd like to recommend the approval of Dan Simonis as a full-time bus mechanic. As you're well aware, we've had Terry and his dad helping out a lot here as of the last couple of years, and then Joe's done a great job. But just looking for a full-time person who can dedicate their time, and due to retirement reasons, that just limited his time. So I'd recommend Dan Simonis as a full-time bus mechanic.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Kevin and seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I'd recommend the approval of Kim Stetzel as the National Honor Society sponsor.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I would recommend the approval. The next two here have to do with high school volleyball volunteer coaches. So I recommend the approval of Tim Kaiser and Madeline Dahl.
Move that we approve those two volleyball coaches.
Second.
Been moved by Ken, seconded by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Fourth from the bottom, you're going to see I recommend the approval of Paula Meredith as a full-time special needs bus driver. The reason I draw attention to that is actually the replacement. I would also like to recommend the approval of Ashley Rice as a full-time bus driver and Mary Kay DeCrow as the full-time special ed bus driver. So that is the replacement plus the replacement for Mary Kay's route. So those all kind of go together, but weren't on the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Recommend the approval of Jalen Meister as a high school volunteer coach as well.
Moved. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. Did you say that? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I did that with my Ken voice just to see.
I recommend the approval of Wendy Ickes as the kindergarten substitute instructional assistant for Jonna Snyder. I'd also recommend Jonna Snyder for the substitute kindergarten teacher for Mrs. Melling. If you notice 2 down from those recommendations, I would also recommend the approval of Mrs. Melling's maternity leave. So Jonna will be taking Mrs. Melling's spot, and Wendy will be taking Jonna's spot. As is typical in kindergarten, the instructional assistants are there all the time, know the routine, have the relationship with the kids, so she's going to go ahead and take the lead on the instruction there. So that's the...
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kevin, seconded by Ken. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval of Riley Linville as a volunteer boys tennis coach.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Kevin. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the resignation of Andy Bass as the junior high head wrestling coach. In his letter, he just expressed the commitment of the head coaching position just doesn't allow him any flexibility with his family. We likely will be seeing a recommendation for him volunteering and still helping out next board meeting, but right now he wants to make sure that
Move we accept that.
Second.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
And the last three all have to do with basketball. So approve the resignation of Zach Schaefer as the 5th grade boys basketball coach, resignation of Ashley Faulkner as the 5th grade girls basketball coach, and resignation of Jeremy Riffle as the 6th grade girls basketball coach.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. All right, on to the,
Question. Did we get the Paul Meredith one officially?
didn't,
So I
Actually,
included
did
that
you-
in
did you
with the
include that?
bus
Okay.
driver ones.
Okay.
Yep. Apologize, those are out of order. We'll try to get those more together.
You had to say the resignation before you can.
Right.
Right.
It would be helpful if they were all together. We'll have that conversation. All right, sorry.
no,
You're good. All right, moving on to business. I'd recommend the approval to accept the 21-22 annual financial reports, the 21-22 junior high school financial report, and the 21-22 Triton Elementary financial report. Obviously, just reading out on what last year's finances looked like and where those expenditures were.
I move we approve those.
Second.
been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. Any discussion?
Tom, is there anything we should be aware of in any of those that might be unique?
No, they're the State Board of Accounts, the building level, the junior, senior high financial report, and the elementary financial report. They started doing that 3 or 4 years ago, and then when the State Board of Accounts come in and audit, they don't necessarily audit the building level stuff. They do that on a random basis, so we provide these reports to them. The annual financial report is just a summary of a lot of the other reports that I do. It's required by them. And on the directions for it, it says file 1 copy with the school board. And so I'm accepting it is what I'm requesting.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, I recommend the approval or the adoption of the resolution for the 2023 bus replacement plan. As Tom mentioned, we are wanting to replace 1 activity bus and 1 yellow bus for 2023.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Kevin, seconded by Steve. Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
And similar to what we've discussed as well, I recommend the adoption of the resolution for the 2023 Capital Projects Fund. Like always, we will create that fund and have to cut from that fund. So there's a lot of things in there that we realize that we may or may not be able to get done. But once again, that bond is going to help a little bit with some of those things that are already in there. So we'll actually make cuts, but still be able to do some of those things with the bond.
So moved.
Accept that.
Adopt that. Accept the adoption.
Well, I move that we adopt it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ken, seconded by Wes, and I heard chatter over here by Steve, so we'll let Wes get something in.
There you go.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval of the Corporation Emergency Preparedness Plan. This has to be done within the first, I think, 60 days of the school year. But obviously, we usually have that ready for staff to have discussions first day of the year. If any changes or anything like that needs to be made. I will ask that we redact the appendix. Obviously, with any emergency preparedness plan, there's things in there that we don't necessarily share with general public, just for confidentiality reasons. So.
I move we approve that. Second.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval of the annual review of bus routes and school bus policies, as Laura mentioned in the board packet. That is something that she has to do within a certain amount of time, and so we wanted to update those policies and bus routes.
I'll move we approve the bus route review.
Second.
Been moved by Wes, seconded by Steve. Any other discussion? How did having all the construction, how does that work
It is
out?
a daily struggle. Daily struggle. There's been times where they've helped and kind of told us what was going to be shut down and what wasn't. More of the state highways, like 30, it's kind of a guess each day, and communication at the end of the day of, hey, 19 and 30, the intersection is shut down. So there's been a lot of flexibility with both bus drivers, parents. Luckily, with the easy routing system that we have, we are able to text email or phone call right away to those parents to say, hey, they're going to be 7 minutes later than they normally are. But yeah, just like all of us trying to go to Warsaw or anywhere, it takes a little bit more time, and sometimes you get lucky. So yeah, it's been a struggle.
Okay. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Last but not least, I recommend the first reading of the Corporation Policy, Volume 34, Number 2. Just when we adopt a lot of these policies, a lot of them are updates, a lot of them are just simply grammatical corrections, those type of things. So this includes, but is not limited to, cardiac arrest, dress and grooming, school sponsorships or publications, grant funds, student records, student accommodations, food service programs, school visitors. So there's a list that continues to go on. You obviously have seen that. I think our packet was, 313 pages this board meeting. So yes, that's just the first reading of those policies.
We approve that if we need to.
I'll second.
Moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thanks, whoever
Yes.
looked through those, Terry, West, whoever it was.
Laura does a lot of the corrections. Laura and I have been meeting with Ryan Snoddy on that, but Terry is definitely the board representative on that.
Moving on to Superintendent Report.
All right, I'm going to keep this pretty short and concise, because all of the things that we're talking about within our strategic planning, our strategic plan, have to do with every one of our core values. So I'm not going to break them down into categories necessarily, but we're going to chalk it up as continuous improvement, shared leadership, which it takes to enact these. So we know that our 3 goals through the strategic plan are encourage student academic success, foster social and emotional support, and invest in teacher and staff success. So very similar to what I shared with you guys in the leadership notes the other day, very similar information. Underneath the encourage student academic success, we really wanted to increase our career pathways and just making sure that we're meeting with each student to make sure that they're on a path that's going to lead them to success, whether that's college, whether that's career, with a huge emphasis right now, both through the state and or through our local career and technical education, of making sure that our kids are put into internships and career and technical education offerings that they're interested in. So career pathways, senior audits, and dream days have been planned and are being executed at the high school. So career plans, those type of things, start as early as kindergarten, and just having people that are in certain careers come in and talk to the elementary students about what they could be when they grow up. Data analysis is taking place, or was taking place the last couple of weeks. And that is just a way to look at the data, continue to improve in the classroom to inform instruction. Curriculum mapping is also taking place, updates to our curriculum and curriculum maps, both at the elementary and the high school. Under foster social emotional support, we hired Stacy Sheets. She has been a welcome addition to the elementary building. If you had an opportunity, you probably heard the buzz. She's just doing an awesome job of connecting with kids and connecting with staff. Social-emotional growth, second steps and character strong lessons are mapped out for students' growth in this area. We know that a focus has been how can we develop high-character individuals within our school corporation. I know oftentimes it's thrown at us of, well, this kid did this and this kid did this. And my response to that is, you're right, we're not perfect, but we're going to continue to try to develop character qualities in these individuals that will make them be successful adults as they grow up. Student engagement data. Data is being tracked right now of who is involved in, whether that's athletics, whether that's FFA, whether that's our clubs, just trying to create more offerings. We're looking into a couple different clubs right now, as I mentioned. Spirit Club is one of those, just to try to increase spirit. Started with a pep rally to begin the year. We're actually looking back at the possibility of starting an archery program. A father called, and his son has a heart defect, and he knows right now that he likely will never be able to play sports. And he just said, hey, what's the possibility? It just so happened that Joe Scott had shared something with me a year and a half ago to say, hey, this is a great program if you ever have interest. And actually, a former student, Nathan Brown, is the one that's kind of spearheading that. So that's awesome. Shining Stars is a new program that Leah Alderfer is starting at the elementary school for a 5th and 6th grade choir, not 4th and 5th and 6th. So just, once again, if they're interested in the arts and maybe they're not in band, maybe it's a vocal performance that they want to be part of, just taking a little bit extra time, learning about that, and then having some performances. Investment in teachers and staff success. We know that hiring an athletic director at the high school was a priority, and Rodney Eunice is doing a wonderful job navigating both coaching and the athletic director position, some days drinking through a fire hose, but doing a great job nonetheless. Just appreciate his efforts. Professional development collaboration. As you guys are aware, September 22nd, I want to use this as kind of an announcement to remind our parents, September 22nd will be our first 2-hour delay day that we will utilize to provide professional development opportunities for our staff, both at the elementary and the high school. But August 8th, we had staff members engaged with our other staff members, obviously professional development at both buildings. Those dates for the delayed starts will be September 22nd, November 17th, and February 16th. Those are on our calendar, but because that's new, we will continue to make sure we get that information out to our patrons. Feedback loop, one of the big things we really are working on as an administrative staff is just the feedback loop and making sure that we're closing the loop once somebody's either approached us about something or if we've had discussions on how we can continue to improve, how do we get back to those staff members, but also encouraged our staff members to close their loops as well, whether that be with parents, whether that be with students, whether that be with administrators. Really one of those things that just because we're closing our loop doesn't mean that things are better. So all of us trying to close our feedback loop. Onboarding, we are looking right now. Actually, Ashley's kind of diving into some HR possibilities with our new staff and just going to survey them on what did new staff orientation do for you? How can we continue to improve that? But that was one of the things on our strategic plan that she is being a tremendous asset on. And then should we consider expanding it for even more intentionality? One day of just here's all the stuff about Triton is overwhelming, especially when you start adding insurance and all that stuff. So continue to look at that. How can we continue to improve? Social committee is actively planning ways to engage with one another outside of work. So junior high 8th hour, elementary and high school tailgate. So this Friday night there'll be an all-teacher tailgate at the game just to come spend some time. They'll get into the game free, enjoy one another's company, and bond over things other than just school or work, right? And then last but not least, evidence-based decision-making. Just as we talk about our strategic plan, reminding people that September 22nd is the delayed start, but then also just October 10th, we're going to have our parent-teacher conferences and continue to utilize that day as professional development as well for our staff. So that's just something we'll continue to do. I do want to really quickly note our band won Best Music, Best General Effect, and first in their class just last weekend on Saturday, so congratulations to them. Cool. Our football team, if nobody knows, beat Bremen 51-10. That was fun. Cross country is doing an outstanding job, working really, really hard in their meets. And then volleyball is off to a really, really good start. Kind of some bumps in the road, so we'll see how they respond. But should be a very, very successful season if they play up to their capability. That's all I have. I'm more than happy to answer questions.
Quick question. Those 2-hour delay days are 2-hour delays, a normal 2-hour delay for kids?
For students will arrive at 10 just as if there was a fog delay.
Okay.
Staff will arrive at 7:45 and we'll have
Normal
professional
day,
development to 9:45, and kids will come at 10.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Any patrons' comments?
I have a question. Did you ever find a chemistry teacher?
So I'll do my best to answer that, and then Mr. McCann can follow up. So right now we are currently, Mr. Callahan is currently proctoring Indiana Online or Indiana Academy, where there is actually a professor that's teaching that class online to our students, and he is the proctor, making sure that they're keeping up with their lessons and that type of thing. Actually, in January, we have a young lady, I believe that's still the plan, we have a young lady that will likely be joining our staff as a chemistry teacher. We will continue the program that we're doing for now, just for consistency's sake, but in the end, we're hoping that becomes a solid fixture on our staff. So the answer is we're still offering the class. We did not find a teacher, and I will tell you we're one of about 4 or 5 corporations around that are looking for a quality science, chemistry, biology teacher to do that. So anything to add to that, Mr. McKeon?
No, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Actually, right now, we have 2 individuals that have expressed interest in that. So we actually have 2 people we're talking to. And, just going to try and find the best fit.
And very similar to what a lot of people are doing, whether that's an adjunct professor type of thing, is they may not be a licensed teacher, but they may have some type of degree in whether that's biology or chemistry or that type of thing. So we're definitely on the lookout. So if you know somebody, send them our way.
I would also say Alan Whitaker, I don't know if you know, a former teacher here. He's been coming in, well, he's been in the last 2 weeks doing labs on Fridays with those kids. So it's not just online, they get to do some hands-on things, which has been really nice. I think the kids have enjoyed that.
Had a blown the lab up or anything?
Not yet.
Not yet. That'd be news.
And
Go
your
ahead.
Facebook post with Mr. Whitaker had the most nicest
Yeah,
comments.
it did. It had some really good responses. Yeah. He's just a solid guy, knows his stuff, and just makes it fun. It was interesting when he came. He's actually helping out at Bethel University right now too. He's like, man, he goes, some of these kids are further along than some of the kids I get at Bethel. So, which kind of hurt me because that's my alma mater. But he was pretty pleased with that so far. And I know Tom has a son that's in that class right now, and as much as we would say from COVID, we realize that online learning is not ideal. That is not who we want to be or ever choose to become. But in the end, it's been a pretty good program once we got the kinks worked out of doing that the first time. So
Very much so. I was impressed, surprised. I got a personal email from the online professor just saying, just want to let you know Ben's doing a good job. He's got a solid A, which I didn't expect from an online program. So my son's enjoying it.
So good question.
Is there ways to share resources with other schools or something like that? Or do you have a teacher, say, that teaches chemistry in Plymouth? Could they travel? Or
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mentioned with the adjunct professor piece of that, is they are actually allowing some of that to take place. They could be a college professor and also teach at the high school level. There are shared programs to where they would be able to possibly do that as well. Unfortunately, and once again, Nate can kind of talk about some of the avenues in which he went to say what are our options right now. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility if they're willing to do that.
yes.
Right? So, I mean, finding that right person that says, you know what, I have a halftime schedule, or they don't need me for the full day, so I could come over. Once again, you start looking at master schedules when it comes to that, and it just becomes really hairy to say, hey, we only need them for, until 11:30, and then they can come. Well, typically we don't hire halftime people, so it does create some crazy. But we did talk about the possibility of another chemistry teacher, possibly even kind of through a Zoom, like Google Meet, teaching that to our students. But we found that we're going to have to have a proctor nonetheless. We have to have somebody in there supervising those kids to make sure that they're focused and doing what they need to do if they're going to stay on our
familiar with the school of the type of classes. Do they have shop classes anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. So through our FFA, through our, not FFA, excuse me, our ag department, they have those classes.
I would say, looking back to the old shop days,
Yeah, it's probably a little
probably
different now.
not as much of those traditional shop classes, but you still get a shop experience. Like we have, through our ag program, we have a
Ag power.
small engine ag power class where they do everything. I mean, some electrical work, some concrete work, some small engine work. So they get a variety of experiences. So similar, but maybe not.
Something that's kind of taken its place is the CTE, the Career and Technical Education. So we also have building and trades, to where some of our students are going and they're helping to build a house. So
Junior, senior year, a half day, they can leave and go and build a home.
Because I think it would be great for kids to learn, mechanics, carpentry, and things like that, where they could actually share in building
Yeah.
homes.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Actually, the pathways that I was mentioning a little bit earlier, which I know is education language, but really there's a big push right now for those internships. So going out into businesses and learning a trade, instead of saying not every kid is cut out to sit in a seat and receive instruction, right? Not every kid is saying, I want to go to college. But there's a real big push right now. In fact, I want to, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to mislead, but we only have approximately 17 of our seniors right now that are in school the entire day. So out of a class of approximately 60, that they're out in internships in career and technical education, that say whether they're going to college or not. So they may be going to a CNA program and learning how to get into the healthcare field, but also those welding classes or cosmetology. So only 17 seniors are left in the building, essentially, not all the time, but getting those experiences there.
Because I know that, we're always going to need plumbers, you're going to need
100%.
electricians, and a lot of those, jobs like that are a lot better than going to college and you get a degree that you can.
You're not in debt, you're already getting paid, and you're learning the skill. Tom, we just talked about that CTE number today. We increased by, 33%? Our offering, approximately a third.
Yep.
So-
Dollar-wise, I know that's what we increased.
He was looking at the dollars.
Student-wise, I don't know what the participation numbers went up, and I mean, there's automotive classes, there's welding,
So increasing those offers, getting them out in the field, and really hooking them up with opportunities to possibly move straight into the workforce, providing they do a good job in their dress rehearsal.
I know that, like when you're in school, a lot of times you have no idea what you want to be, career-wise. When I went to college, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to be in teaching.
I will.
But I happened to take some classes in accounting, and that's what I got interested in that, and I said, okay, that's where I'm going. So.
I will tell you, our counselors do an unbelievable job in talking about the Dream Day, which I mentioned, talking about career audits, where we bring in a bunch of businesses, colleges, businesses, to just connect with our kids to say, here is what is out there. It's amazing what we have just in Marshall County, right? Or connected to Kosciuszko County and the medical implement industry. So just trying to make our kids more aware, but then also asking them right across the table, first of all, knowing their name, but second of all, what do you want to do? Like, what are you interested in? Those conversations are happening, and I feel like our counselors, Ashley Faulkner and Sarah Arvison, are doing an amazing job when it comes to just that interest inventory. So, absolutely.
I have another question. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up.
Okay.
It's about the wrestling program.
Okay.
And some of the programs I know in Marshall County allow girls on the wrestling team.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering that it would not, hopefully we don't have any girls on the wrestling team. Hopefully that something would be done. If the girls went to wrestle, they would have their own team and boys would have theirs. Because I can't imagine having a daughter that wants to wrestle, or a boys that want to wrestle girls.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah.
As a board, you would have to decide on stuff like that.
Yeah, there are definitely girls involved in wrestling. And whether you agree with that or don't agree with that, I would say that if you came to the dual meets that we had, you would see, especially at the junior high level, you would see individuals doing very, very well. And I'm not saying it's about that, but they are allowed to participate, if that's the question. So.
I can't imagine common sense allowing that.
Yeah.
If the girls want to wrestle, fine, have their own team, boys
Yeah.
have their own team. But I cannot imagine as a community that they would want that. I know you have to say it's okay.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think that really
deep
comes
down,
down to those parents. I know you said it. You can't imagine having a girl doing that, but in the end,
well, if they want to wrestle, that's fine, but not,
yeah,
I can't imagine having it out on TV, having girls and boys wrestle. You know,
yeah. No, I get it. But yes, it is available for them, and they've, especially at the junior high level, sometimes when the girls are stronger than the boys,
well, they can
it's
beat them up.
yeah. So, yep.
But I just, okay. That's it.
We would ask that there's a lot of common sense things that, unfortunately, I understand what you're saying.
Okay. The Triton Distinguished Young Women Board of Directors are proud to introduce the 6 young ladies who will vie for $5,000 in college scholarships and the opportunity to represent the community as the 59th Distinguished Young Woman of Triton, formerly known as Triton Junior Miss. Tickets to the scholarship program to be held on Saturday, October 18th, can be purchased from the contestants or at the door for $6. Triton's Performing Arts Center will open at 6:30 p.m. with the program starting at 7 p.m. The 6 young women competing will be evaluated by a panel of judges in the following categories: scholastics, interview, talent, fitness, and self-expression. The winner of Triton's DYW will join other high school seniors from across the state to compete for Indiana's Distinguished Young Woman. And the 6 ladies who are actually over at the high school right now practicing are Kenzie Atkins, Caitlin Jackson, Emily Jones, Anna McIntyre, Olivia Shively, and Lily Stetzel.
Ryan, was it the 18th or the 8th?
8th.
Okay.
8th, yeah.
Saturday.
Thank you very much. We look forward to another good Junior Miss program. Building reports.
All right. As Mr. Riffle mentioned, Stacy Sheets has been really awesome starting out the school year. We've had a number of patrons who are, I guess, students and families who have requested, that at registration that maybe she see their child. She's been full of great ideas, been touching base with new students and new families who are trying to make transitions. She's got some great ideas. She's gone into the classrooms to do bullying training. She's got some really good ideas about College Go Week, which I'm excited about. So that's going to be coming up. And also she's helping with our Triton Gives Back Day and helping just facilitate some things. She's also organizing some career speakers for students in grades 4, 5, and 6, which will be the following week in October when it's just a little bit less busy. But we'll also be having our walkathon that week. So I'm excited about that. And again, those speakers will follow College Go Week. But again, College Go Week isn't just about college. It's about training and those kind of courses, vocational things. So the speakers that are coming to talk to 4th, 5th, and 6th are all about in the kind of the vocational area. So we're looking forward to that. Not to contradict Mr. Riffle, but we don't have data analysis until this week. So we have it through Wednesday and Thursday at the elementary, although we did start some of our interventions last week for kindergarten. And then also we'll be starting the rest of those next week. So, yeah, no. Sorry. They're not until September, so I'm not sure why, but that's okay. Those were at the high school. I think you guys did those at the high school. But No problem. So we're still working on those, and we'll be looking at our trend data as well. On the 22nd, we're going to be looking at a couple different topics with our staff, including our school improvement plan and some of the beginnings of the strategic plan implementation. We'll also be meeting this month with teachers regarding their student learning objectives. So out of the beginning of the year data will also come their personal objectives. That will be what they want to see their students, the growth and this year. And so we'll be with them on September 28th and 29th. I'm so happy to see a lot of the students or the grade levels get out, and I appreciate the transportation department who is helping to get them places. So a lot of fall visits that we haven't had in 3 years. And so I'm excited about the opportunity for our students to be able to get out and experience some things firsthand. And I think that will be good learning ahead of time. And then also when they come back, springboard for other activities. So I'm glad to see that working out this year. I think that's about it. It makes it busy, but it's going all right. Yes.
Teachers feeling real good about the guidance counselor too. You getting any feedback from them?
Yes, I think so. I mean, a lot of referrals. We have a referral process that's made, that is put in place so that if you want to refer someone for counseling, you can. If it's an immediate need, you just call and say, hey, this person needs someone to talk to. So we're still trying to figure out what are the ways, do we know when something's a discipline problem versus this is a counselor issue. Sometimes a discipline problem ends up to be, this is also something that needs regular counseling. Josh and Stacy and I meet every Friday at 8:45 to discuss students of concern. So we're always looking at, not only from the academic standpoint, but from the behavioral standpoint and, the social emotional standpoint. Who do we need to be looking at? What are we seeing? Do we need to do more? Who's on those lists? So I think that's a good thing to do because a lot of times the behavioral does affect the academic, or the social emotional affects the other things. So yes, I think I'm hearing good things about that, but it's only beginning. It's the way I feel like.
All right, for the junior, senior high school, on August 24th, we had our senior audit days, and Mr. Riffle was talking about that a little bit. Last year, that audit day consisted of sitting down with every senior and talking about, are they on track to graduate? What are their plans? And then they would funnel into going and talking to colleges or potential employers. That was a real cumbersome day, so we kind of broke that up. So you heard audit day tonight, and you also heard the dream day. So we've kind of divided those things up. So we just had our audit on the 24th where we met with every senior and just made sure they were on track to graduate. And then in October, we're going to have our dream day where they're going to have the opportunity to go and talk to colleges and talk to those employers. So we're looking really forward to that. So just thanks to Ashley, Sarah, and Kim Stetzel for putting that on. August 25th, we did a Character Strong staff presentation. So the Character Strong is the new program, kind of our character education program we're going to do with our students. So we presented that to our staff, kind of went through what that's going to look like, and we shared a calendar of when we're going to have those programs offered to our students, and we're going to do that during our homeroom or SLC time. August 30th, we had our data analysis at the junior senior high school, and it was a big focus on some of our junior high math and language arts classes. And really what we talk about in those is we look at some data that we've collected, and then we really try and have some conversations of how can we take that data and now have it impact learning in the classroom. So how can that data drive instruction and help us as the teacher and the educators make decisions in the classroom? And that's something we're going to continue to work on getting better at. September 6th, we had a mock grocery store. So Brittany Shorey, which was Blake Shorey's wife, she came in from Purdue, and they put on this mock grocery store, and it's kind of a health and wellness components tied to some budget components. And they went through with our students, junior high students, and just kind of gave them a mock experience and how to do those things. So that was a really good opportunity for our kids. September 7th, we had a program called Invested come in, and they presented to some of our English classes, and a lot of that was just helping our students make some plans for after high school. So let's see here. September 14th, so this week, this Wednesday, we have Picture Day. So we just sent out a school reach tonight, just reminding everybody of that. On September 30th, we have Triton Gives Back. Let's see, we've completed NWEA testing, and a lot of that data was used in those data analysis meetings that we had earlier, or I guess late last month. We gave a chemistry teacher update a little bit ago, so that was a great question. Thank you. I'm organizing meetings with those individuals to sit down and talk and just see what our options are. And I feel really good that we have some options at this point, because I know there's other schools that they're not having that luck. So I feel pretty blessed with that. We do have a leadership team meeting this week on Wednesday, and that's basically just a group of teachers that I go to and ask for input, present ideas to, and just see what their thoughts are and how we can move forward with some things. So basically, what are some things we can do just to keep improving the junior, senior high school from year to year? So look forward to having our first meeting of the year with them. This week is homecoming week, so we did not do a really good job. We didn't do a good job at all at sharing that this year, and I apologize for that. But this is homecoming week. We're having dress-up days every day but Wednesday, because that's picture day. That would not be a good day to have a dress-up day. And what's that? You could dress up. Yes, you could. And then we're going to have homecoming voting. We started today. We're going to finish that tomorrow, and then we'll be able to share the homecoming court tomorrow. And then we will have our homecoming festivities at the football game Friday night. On September 22nd, Mr. Riffle kind of shared that that's our 2-hour delay or late start for professional development. So some of the things we're going to look at doing at the junior, senior high school is we need to have our testing security, training with all staff. But in addition to that, we want to also have time in smaller groups with teachers to talk about just some of the increased behaviors we're seeing with students and some of the things that we're just seeing our kids come into our building and struggling with, and how can we better equip our teachers from class to class on how to deal with those things. So our special education teachers are going to help us present some ideas and tips to our teachers on how to handle those. Let's see here. I'd like to thank Andy Bass, biology teacher. He took a group of our students, biology students, out to Tippecanoe River. They had a program where you could go out, and they did multiple experiments to see how healthy the Tippecanoe River was. And the kids seemed excited. Mr. Bass was super excited. And I learned that the Tippecanoe River is the 8th healthiest river in the United States. Never would have known that. So that group told me. And I'd also like to thank the marching band. Just thank the marching band and congratulate them on a very successful weekend. I know they work really hard, and they did a great job. So that's all I got, unless you guys have questions for me. Okay, thank you.